Today we're embarking on a journey into the heart of resistance, a journey through the top 10 slave rebellions in the Americas and the Caribbean. Now, when we think about slavery, it's easy to get bogged down by the sheer inhumanity of it all, and trust me, we'll be unpacking a lot of that. But it's equally important to remember that alongside the chains and the whips, there was an unyielding spirit of resistance. These weren't isolated incidents. We're talking about a sustained fight for freedom that spanned centuries and continents. From the sugar plantations of the Caribbean to the cotton fields of the American South, enslaved Africans rose up against their oppressors, demanding their birthright liberty. So buckle up, because over the next few chapters we'll be exploring these epic rebellions, understanding their causes, dissecting their consequences, and most importantly, honoring the bravery of those who dared to fight for their freedom, and in many ways ours. Let's get started. Our first stop takes us to the Caribbean island of Saint-Domingue, a French colony that would become the stage for one of history's most significant uprisings, the Haitian Revolution. Now, Saint-Domingue wasn't just any colony, it was a cash cow, literally. See, this tiny island was the world's leading producer of sugar, a luxury good that fueled European appetites and economies. But this sweet success came at a brutal cost. The sugar industry ran on the backs of nearly 500,000 enslaved Africans who endured horrific conditions and unimaginable cruelty. By the late 1700s, Saint-Domingue was a powder keg ready to explode. You had a huge population of enslaved people who vastly outnumbered the white colonists, a simmering resentment against the brutal plantation system, and then you throw in the ideals of the French Revolution. Talk about a recipe for rebellion, and rebel they did. In 1791, inspired by the French Revolution's cries for liberty, equality, and fraternity, enslaved Africans and free people of color launched a revolt that would last for over a decade. Leading this revolution were figures like Toussaint Louverture, a brilliant strategist and former slave who became a symbol of Haitian resistance. The Haitian Revolution wasn't just a slave revolt, it was a full-blown war for independence. Think about it, enslaved Africans taking on the might of Napoleonic France. And guess what? They won. Despite facing overwhelming odds, the Haitian revolutionaries, through sheer grit and strategic brilliance, defeated the French, British, and Spanish forces that tried to quell the rebellion. In 1804, Haiti declared its independence, becoming the first independent nation in Latin America and the Caribbean, and more importantly, the first nation to be founded by former slaves. The impact of the Haitian Revolution was seismic. It sent shockwaves throughout the Americas, inspiring other slave rebellions and forcing colonial powers to confront the very foundation of their empires built on human bondage. But the revolution's legacy is complex. The fight for freedom came at a tremendous cost, with hundreds of thousands of lives lost. And while Haiti achieved political independence, it faced immense challenges: economic embargoes, international isolation, and the enduring legacy of colonialism. Now let's shift our focus to the United States, where the institution of slavery was deeply entrenched. While the Haitian Revolution sent tremors across the Atlantic, it was the rebellion led by Nat Turner in 1831 that would shake the very core of the American South. Born into slavery in Virginia, Nat Turner wasn't your average enslaved man. He was deeply spiritual, a gifted preacher who believed he was chosen by God to lead his people to freedom. Turner claimed to have visions, messages from God that fueled his conviction and ultimately led him to plan an uprising. On August 21st, 1831, Turner and a small group of followers launched their rebellion, attacking white slaveholders and their families in Southampton County, Virginia. The rebellion spread rapidly, striking fear into the hearts of white Southerners and igniting a wave of terror across the region. Turner's rebellion, though short-lived, was brutally effective. His group, which grew to around 70 men, killed between 55 and 65 white people, exposing the raw vulnerability of a system that thrived on the subjugation of an entire race. The history of slavery isn't confined to the Americas. In the 9th century, Iraq, part of the Abbasid Caliphate, saw the Zanj Rebellion. East African slaves, known as Zanj, faced brutal conditions. Their rebellion challenged the powerful Abbasid Empire. The Zanj Rebellion remains significant in history. The rebellion was sparked in 869 CE by a charismatic leader named Ali ibn Muhammad. He was a scholar and a revolutionary who claimed to be descended from Ali, the son-in-law of the Prophet Muhammad. This gave him religious legitimacy and helped him unite the diverse group of Zanji slaves. Ali ibn Muhammad was a brilliant strategist and a powerful orator. He rallied the Zanj, promising them freedom, equality, and justice. He tapped into their anger and frustration. Under his leadership, small uprisings grew into a massive rebellion. The Zanj were vastly outnumbered but determined. They employed guerrilla tactics, disrupting trade routes. They even established their own independent state in southern Iraq. For 15 long years, the Zanj rebellion raged on. 15 years of fighting for their freedom. They fought with incredible courage and resilience. Their rebellion sent shockwaves throughout the Islamic world. From the scorching deserts of Mesopotamia, we now journey to the lush tropical island of Jamaica, a land steeped in the history of resistance. Enslaved Africans waged a relentless fight for freedom against British colonialism in the Maroon Wars. The term maroon comes from the Spanish word cimarron, meaning wild or untamed. These men and women more than lived up to the name. They were the descendants of Africans who had escaped from Spanish and British plantations. Fleeing slavery, they sought refuge in the island's rugged interior. Life in the Jamaican interior was incredibly challenging. The Maroons carved out independent communities, establishing their own laws and customs. Masters of guerrilla warfare, they used their knowledge of the terrain to their advantage, setting up ambushes, raiding plantations, and disappearing into the forest. Their bravery and tactical brilliance became legendary. The First Maroon War erupted in the early 18th century and lasted for decades. Think about that for a second. Decades of fighting for their right to exist freely. The Maroons, led by legendary figures like Cudjoe and Nanny of the Windward Maroons, inflicted heavy casualties on the British, forcing them to negotiate. And here's where it gets interesting. In 1739, the British, exhausted and frustrated by their inability to defeat the Maroons, signed a treaty with Cudjoe, recognizing Maroon autonomy in their territories. This treaty, unthinkable in most colonial contexts, was a testament to the Maroons' strength, resilience, and strategic prowess. But the struggle didn't end there. The Second Maroon War, sparked in 1795, saw the Maroons once again challenging British authority. This time, the British employed brutal tactics, including the use of bloodhounds imported from Cuba, to try and crush the Maroon resistance. Despite their fierce resistance, the Maroons ultimately faced betrayal, with some groups tricked into surrendering under false promises. Many were deported to Nova Scotia and later Sierra Leone, a tragic outcome for a people who had fought so valiantly for their freedom, but their legacy lived on. Our journey through epic slave rebellions takes us now to the coast of South America, to the British colony of Demerara, present-day Guyana. It's 1823 and the sugar industry is booming, fueled by the labor of tens of thousands of enslaved Africans. Life on these sugar plantations was beyond harsh. It was a brutal system designed to maximize profit with little regard for human life. Enslaved people were overworked, underfed, and subjected to horrific punishments. Now, what makes the Demerara rebellion particularly interesting is the role that religion played in igniting the flames of resistance. See, many enslaved Africans in Demerara had converted to Christianity, and they clung to its message of hope, equality, and liberation. They saw the hypocrisy of slave owners who professed Christian values while perpetrating such cruelty. Among these enslaved Christians was Jack Gladstone, a skilled artisan and a deacon in the church. Jack was a man of deep faith and courage, and he used his position to educate and organize his fellow enslaved people. He would hold secret prayer meetings, often under the cover of darkness, where they would discuss their plight, share stories of hope, and plan for their freedom. Word spread quickly throughout the plantations about these secret gatherings and the growing discontent among the enslaved population. The colonial authorities, always on edge about the possibility of rebellion, began to take notice. The tension was palpable, like a powder keg waiting for a spark. And that spark came in August 1823, when rumours spread that the British Parliament was debating the abolition of slavery. Now, these rumors turned out to be false, but they ignited a wildfire of hope among the enslaved people of Demerara. They believed that their freedom was imminent and they were ready to seize it. On August 18, 1823, tens of thousands of enslaved people on various plantations across Demerara, inspired by Jack Gladstone's leadership, rose up in a coordinated rebellion. They laid down their tools, abandoned the fields, and marched towards the capital, Georgetown, demanding their freedom. The rebellion sent shockwaves through the colony. The white planter class, outnumbered and terrified, scrambled to organize a militia. The rebellion was brutally suppressed within days. Hundreds of enslaved people were killed in the uprising and its aftermath, and many more were subjected to horrific punishments. Jack Gladstone, despite his hopes for a peaceful resolution, was captured and executed. But the Demerara rebellion had a profound impact on the abolitionist movement in Britain. The sheer scale of the uprising and the brutal response of the colonists exposed the horrors of slavery to a wider audience. The Stono Rebellion of 1739 highlights the brutal realities of slavery in colonial America. Enslaved Africans, led by Jemmy, seized weapons and marched towards Spanish Florida. Their desperate bid for freedom exposed the fragility of a society built on slavery. The rebellion's initial success was short-lived. The colonists quickly regrouped, organizing militias to crush the uprising. The rebels were vastly outnumbered and outgunned, confronted by a heavily armed militia near the Edisto River. The battle was a massacre. Many rebels, including Jemmy, were killed. Survivors were captured and brutally executed. The Stono Rebellion was drowned in blood but resonated far beyond. It led to stricter slave codes in South Carolina and other colonies. These laws aimed to curtail the movement and education of enslaved people. The Stono Rebellion marked a period of heightened repression, yet it remains a powerful symbol of resistance, a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who fought for freedom. The rebellion reminds us that the desire for liberty cannot be extinguished. The year is 1831, and the British Caribbean is a powder keg of tension. Slavery, though officially abolished in the British Empire in 1807, remained a brutal reality for hundreds of thousands of people in the West Indies. In Jamaica, enslaved Africans toiled under inhumane conditions on vast plantations. Enter Samuel Sharp, a literate and charismatic Baptist deacon. Sharp used his position to organize and educate. He preached about equality and passive resistance. His message spread like wildfire, igniting hope. Sharp and his followers planned a general strike to cripple sugar production. They aimed to force colonial authorities to address their grievances. This act of defiance transformed a labor dispute into a rebellion. The strike, intended as a peaceful protest, quickly escalated into open rebellion. On December 27, 1831, a fire erupted on the Kensington estate in St. James, a sign of defiance that rapidly spread throughout the island. The flames of rebellion, fanned by years of oppression and fueled by Sharp's message of liberation, engulfed Jamaica. The Baptist War, as it came to be known, was a testament to the courage and resilience of the Jamaican people. Despite being vastly outnumbered and outgunned, the rebels fought valiantly against the colonial militia and British troops. Their bravery in the face of overwhelming odds showcased their unwavering determination to break free from the chains of slavery. The rebellion lasted for 10 grueling days, marking a turning point in Jamaican history. While the colonial authorities ultimately suppressed the uprising with brutal force, the Baptist War had a profound impact on the British Empire. The rebellion's ferocity, coupled with its cost in both lives and resources, forced the British government to confront the horrors of slavery. The Baptist War, though brutally suppressed, hastened the abolition of slavery in the British Empire. It stands as a testament to the power of resistance, a beacon of hope for all those who yearn for freedom. The legacy of Samuel Sharp and the brave souls who fought alongside him continues to inspire generations of Jamaicans and freedom fighters around the world. Let's journey back to 1763 to the Dutch colony of Berbice, located in present-day Guyana. Imagine a land teeming with natural resources, where vast plantations produced coffee, cotton and sugar, all fueled by the forced labor of enslaved Africans. The colony, however, was a powder keg of racial tension, with a small European elite ruling over a vast, oppressed African majority. Life for enslaved people in Berbice was one of unimaginable hardship and brutality. They endured forced labor, malnutrition, disease, and constant threat of physical abuse. The Dutch colonizers, driven by greed and a sense of racial superiority, seemed oblivious to the simmering resentment brewing beneath the surface of their carefully constructed society. The Berbice slave uprising didn't erupt out of nowhere. It was the culmination of years of accumulated grievances, a reaction to systemic dehumanization and cruelty. Rumors of successful slave revolts in other parts of the world, coupled with the colony's weak defenses, emboldened those who dared to dream of freedom. Among them was Cuffy, an enslaved man of Akan origin who worked as a house slave on a plantation. Cuffy, a natural leader, recognized the simmering discontent among his fellow enslaved people and understood that the time for action was ripe. He began to secretly organize, uniting people from various plantations under a common goal: liberation from the shackles of slavery. Section 2, Cuffy's Rebellion and a Dream Deferred. The rebellion ignited in February 1763 when Cuffy and his followers, armed with whatever weapons they could gather, rose up against their oppressors. Their initial target was the plantation where Cuffy himself was enslaved, a symbolic strike against the heart of the system that held them captive. The rebellion spread with astonishing speed, engulfing plantations along the Berbice River. Enslaved people, emboldened by Cuffy's leadership and fueled by years of pent-up rage, seized control of plantations, their actions a testament to the human desire for freedom and self-determination. The Dutch colonists, caught off guard, were ill-prepared for the scale and ferocity of the uprising. Cuffy, a skilled strategist, established a base at Fort Nassau, which he captured early in the rebellion. From there, he attempted to establish a new social order, one free from the tyranny of slavery. He envisioned a future where Africans, no longer shackled by chains, could live in peace and prosperity. The rebellion, however, faced significant challenges. Internal divisions among the rebels, coupled with the arrival of Dutch reinforcements, weakened their position. Despite early successes and Cuffy's inspiring leadership, the rebellion was ultimately crushed. Cuffy, recognizing the futility of further resistance, tragically took his own life rather than returning to a life of enslavement. In 1839, the Amistad carried enslaved Africans from Sierra Leone to Cuba. Among them was Sengbe Pierre, later known as Joseph Cinque. Cinque led a daring rebellion, seizing control of the ship. Their journey ended on American shores, igniting a legal battle. The arrival of the Amistad ignited controversy in the United States. These individuals fought for freedom, landing in a nation wrestling with slavery. Abolitionists rallied around the captives, symbolizing the human cost of slavery. They argued passionately for freedom, challenging human ownership. This was about a nation grappling with its deepest divisions. The case reached the Supreme Court. The nation held its breath as arguments were presented. The eyes of the nation were upon them. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of the captives, affirming their freedom. This was a moral triumph, a testament to resilience and liberty. Deep in Brazil, during the tough times when Portugal ruled and the terrible slave trade was happening, a special place grew: Palmares. Palmares was a quilombo. Now, quilombo might be a new word for you. It means a place where escaped slaves built a new community, a safe place hidden in the wild, a brave fight against being treated badly. Picture the thick, difficult-to-live-in forests of Brazil back then. That's where Palmares was. It not only survived, it did really well. It showed how strong people can be, even when they were slaves. These weren't just people hiding, they were making a brand new community based on freedom. Palmares wasn't just a hiding spot, it showed how clever and tough people can be. People from all sorts of backgrounds came together. They made their own way of life, grew their own food, and even had their own army. They knew the land really well and used it to help them. Gap 2S. For almost 100 years, Palmares stood strong against Portugal. It was a shining light of hope for other slaves and showed that fighting together can make a difference. It was a constant problem for those in charge. The story of Palmares is one of constant struggle and resilience. They repelled attacks, adapted to changing landscapes, and fought against brutal Portuguese tactics. Masters of guerrilla warfare, they used the terrain to their advantage. Palmares stands as a symbol of resistance and hope, a testament to the enduring human spirit. From the heart of the Caribbean to the shores of the United States and the depths of the Brazilian rainforest, we've explored 10 powerful examples of slave rebellions that shook the Americas. These weren't just isolated uprisings, they were tremors of defiance that reverberated throughout history, challenging the very foundations of the transatlantic slave trade and the societies built upon it. Each rebellion, regardless of its ultimate outcome, chipped away at the edifice of slavery, exposing its inherent brutality and igniting the flames of abolitionist movements worldwide. The courage displayed by these individuals who dared to rise up against unimaginable odds serves as a testament to the indomitable human spirit and the unquenchable thirst for freedom. These stories are not just historical footnotes, they are powerful reminders of the importance of fighting for justice, of speaking truth to power, and of never, ever taking our own freedom for granted. The legacy of these rebellions continues to inspire us today, urging us to confront injustice in all its forms and to work towards a more equitable and just world. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more historical insights. Let us know in the comments which rebellion you found most impactful and why. See you next time.
To the team, people are not subscribed. Please subscribe.